Hi, welcome to Gaston Spotlight. I'm your host, Ian Moore. Our guest today is the chair of the welding department, Austin Price. Thanks for coming on the show, Austin Price. Now, can you give us a broad idea of what the welding technology program teaches at Gaston College?
Sure. So, well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me here. This is fantastic for us. We do a multitude of different processes in the welding program that we teach. Just in front of me, there's a couple of different various processes that we use. We use the gas tungsten inert process, which is commonly referred to as TIG. We also do a MIG process, or gas metal arc welding, which is where you'll squeeze a trigger and the wire automatically comes out and is fed in. This is what pretty much the glue of welding is what's holding a lot of the two pieces together. We also can do oxy-fuel cutting, or we can do oxy-fuel welding in itself. So by gas process versus an electric arc process, we teach those as well. So there's a multitude of different processes that we do teach. Some of the examples of the actual MIG process I have here, just real quick. This is a piece of 3/8 carbon steel. We configure this into what's called a T, a lap, and a butt joint, where the two pieces are butted together. And the student is required to demonstrate proficiency in welding multiple passes or multiple runs of weld onto this. And then we will do a cutaway or cross section of this and look actually inside of the weld to see how well they did, where the base metal is, where the filler metal is, and how strong it would be. And that's primarily used with quite a few of these different processes, but it's not just industry stuff. We try and encourage the students to think outside the box as well. And on our oxy-fuel classes, we have some art projects that we work with the students. Wow. And this is called the brazing tree. So if you've never really looked at YouTube or anything like that for any of the processes, this is a brazing process that they still use to this day to build backup parts. So if you own a paper mill and you have a shaft that's worn and you need to build it back up, but the heat is an issue, we can actually add this brazing material to build back up the material and then machine it back down to tolerance. It doesn't affect the metal as greatly as the actual electric arc process does. So there's a multitude. Like I said, there's the MIG process, the TIG process, the oxy-fuel process, and then the last process we can get into is the actual stick process, which is a single electrode that is covered with a flux coating. And when it's inserted into the electrode holder, the student will bounce off of this and create an electrical arc between the plate and another ground clamp that connects an electrical circuit, and at which time that will melt, and then this filler wire that is inside will melt and be deposited, much like this filler wire, which helps bond the two pieces together. Right. So we teach all of those processes that are pretty much the fundamentals of the welding classes that we do here at Gaston. But we also allow the students to think outside the box, not only with just the T-lap and butt joints, but we also get creative. One of the students made this for me a couple of years ago using the tungsten inert gas process. This is a piece of aluminum.
So that's the TIG welding, right?
That's the TIG welding.
Gas.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we also have a cutting processes class, not only with this, but with the plasma cutting, and just in time for Halloween. So we have, students getting real creative with different items and things like that. And again, not only are we focused in on the main crux of the processes, but we also want to encourage some outside of the box thinking. So we encourage, some art projects, things like that. But the real sort of come to fruition, make it happen, put everything together is in our summer classes. And our students have made some incredible projects over the summer for our fabrication class. They've made picnic tables, they've made chairs that have back rests made out of tailgates for vehicles. The last one that we did, a student did, he went all out. He did like exterior leather with red stitching,
I'm gonna have to slide through here and
it's
make a chair
amazing.
back out of it.
It's absolutely amazing.
Wow.
But it's very, very exciting what you can do with all this stuff and what you can put together and build, whether it's practical applications or something that is decorative that you can sell on Etsy or on the internet.
Okay, so how did you get into welding?
Well, I graduated high school and didn't really like school, and I figured I would never go back to it again, but always had friends that sort of did it and was around and watched it, but never really understood it. And then just by necessity of coming to an older age and realizing I need to pick a career. I always wanted to do something that was tactile with my hands. I liked building things. As a kid, I had a bin full of like 1,000 Legos. And I just decided that being able to work with my hands and build things was something that I wanted to do. And this seemed like a really good fit. And within, I'd say, 6 months of being in the welding course, I was hooked. And that was 20 plus years ago.
So when did you start teaching welding at Gaston College?
I started teaching actually August 19th of this year was 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So I've been here for 5 years, and then I actually taught down in South Florida for about 3.5 years at Palm Beach Community College, and then it became Palm Beach State College. So, and I taught there for a little while, which is actually where I graduated from when it was Palm Beach Community College.
Oh, wow.
So I went right back in.
So you wound up, you're immersed in the school system.
Yes, sir.
Even though you said you weren't going to.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic.
Life.
Yeah, I swore it never to be, and then here I am now.
Oh, the cookie crumbles.
Exactly.
So the welding program has work-based learning programs. Can you tell us some more about that?
Sure. So the work-based learning program is basically where a student can go in and get time for classwork while they're actually doing something in industry. They're responsible for a timesheet. They have what's called MLOs, or measurable learning outcomes, and that's what the employer and the student put together as sort of a ladder step. Where do I want to be? What do I want to learn? What sort of skill sets do I need by this portion in time? And then the employer signs off as those students meet those objective checklists.
So it's kind of like an internship?
Yes,
of sorts?
Very much so, but the student is also receiving a paycheck while they're doing it.
Wow, okay.
Certain internships may not be paid, but a lot of the stuff that we do with a lot of our industry partners locally, they do assume our students, they do give them a paycheck. I think work-based learning is a great opportunity for somebody that wants to kind of transition between our program and the work industry. But we also have students that decide to go right into industry. So we do have options for both.
I mean, that's the best way is to have hands-on training.
Yes, sir.
And on-the-job training. So yeah, that's a great way to get into the welding game. Could you put that on a resume?
Absolutely, yes. All the stuff that we teach, all the processes, everything that we learn either in the diploma program or the certificate program, work-based learning, any extracurricular stuff that they would do. I've had students that are in the work-based learning program that are actually doing side projects for people around the neighborhood or in the community. All of great things, that it just solidifies the learning aspect that you're going to get from the college and being more hands-on and proficiency. That's really what we're stressing, is to be able to build proficient students that can be into the community or get into the community and have gainful employment, and not only be an asset to themselves but to an employer, where it's a symbiotic relationship. They're building products, the employer's happy, they're making their deadlines, and the employer's paying them, and they're making a paycheck.
That's awesome, because I know there's welding jobs in the area. Like,
oh yes,
this is definitely a viable career path.
Yes.
So you say there's a degree program and there's a certificate program. Could you explain a little bit more about?
Sure. So the degree program, during the days, we have a day class and an evening class. It's 1 year during the day and 2 years in the evening. And that basically covers a full gamut of not only just the welding courses, but we've also this year introduced the metallurgy class. And we've combined the symbols and specs and blueprint reading specifically for the welding industry. So that makes it a little bit easier for the student to transition from our learning facility into shop drawings that are related to welding.
Right.
And then so that would be 1 year. You also have an ACA class, a comm class, math class, which is very, very important. Math proficiency in this industry is huge.
Oh.
If you're not really good with math, do what I did. Go back and get some refresher courses, because it's every day that you're doing numbers, calculations, gas flow rates, temperatures for material to not, over roast the material and warp it or distort it. So there's a lot of
precision involved.
Yes, absolutely. And so all those different courses will outline that full first year. And then the same thing carries over into the evening courses. It's just another year in the evenings. But we try and cater to students that are working in the evenings that want to come during the day, and then students that are working during the day and want to come during the,
Oh, that's
in the
awesome
evening.
that it'll accommodate a work schedule.
Yes, and then the degree programs are sort of the shortened version of those. It teaches you 4 or 5 basic processes and then allows you to go out and get gainful employment. But what I'm hearing from a lot of the local advisory committee that we have for the welding program, not just for just general information, but just general knowledge for the student, is they are looking to get computer skills, the soft skills that students need, computer skills, communication skills, math skills, Excel, Word files, because a lot of these companies now are actually using computers to keep track of their jobs. So it's a lot of really good skills that we can get, whether it be, I recommend the diploma. It's just better to have on your resume. More information, the better the training, but we also do offer the level 1 and level 2 as sort of a shorter training period.
I would think having that diploma makes it look like you put more effort into what you did, so it'll look good on a resume.
Absolutely.
It'll look good to employers.
Yes.
So what are the most important skills not directly related to welding that you teach your students?
Well, we try and teach them interpersonal skills, punctuation as far as being on time. If the class starts at this time, you need to be here at or by or 10 minutes before. We also talk to them about communication skills because they have to interact.
You have to.
Welding is sort of we call it a singular but team effort, because if you're by yourself and you're doing a process, you're required to do that by yourself. However, in a team environment, whether you're doing building erection or you're working in a shop on a large project, you do have to communicate across the board with other welders, let them know, pulling a tape and letting them know, we're at 40 feet on this side, but 39 and a half on this side. What's the problem? Also, just verbal skills and communication skills on the computer. Again, a lot of these manufacturers are using now computers to list off a side, we're at this job number, we're in the green, which is great, or we're in the red, which means we're running over on time. Our delivery date's not going to be met. So organizational skills is a huge thing. Being organized, being able to look into your toolbox and know that the tools that you need for this specific job are there. Or again, just communication or interaction, personal interaction. Sending an email, not like you text. I'll see you later. It's, I will be there in 20 minutes or something like that. So it's more getting the students sometimes out of their comfort zone, because it's real easy to do this and then just press send.
It reflects better on you as an employee if you're not typing, if you're not sending an email like you text. It's presentation.
Yes, and also one of the things is knowing the science behind these processes. It's really, you can teach someone how to spot weld, or you can teach someone how to do this, but to really understand and absorb and immerse yourself into this field, into this trade, to really understand it, it makes you a better qualified welder.
Right.
If you're the foreman and I come to you and I say, hey, this thing is broken, well, that doesn't really tell you much. But if I know the parts and the pieces and I say, this part is broken, but I just need a replacement and it's doing this to the weld, that's a communication. That's a communication portion of it that we try and tell the students. Don't just bring me something and go, I broke this. Tell me what happened.
It helps with the troubleshooting process.
Exactly.
To the smallest component.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So communication, punctuation, or punctuality, I should say, excuse me, and just overall interpersonal skills with interaction with the multitude of the class people.
What do you think are the hardest things for students to learn in the program? I would say math. For me, it would be math.
It is math, but it's also understanding that this program that we have at Gaston College, not only is it near and dear to my heart, but it's also one of those things where we want any student to know coming into this, it's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
It's okay. Don't beat yourself up.
That's how you learn. That's one of the best ways to learn, is by making mistakes.
We want you to learn all the caveats here and make the mistakes here, so that way when you get into the work environment, there's less of the mistakes. So we can make them here, let's learn from them. We don't get on our students and give them a huge sermon if there's an issue. We address it, we fix it, and then we move on. But we don't really dwell on the fact that, this could have been better. It's like, here's what we got, here's what we need to do, here's how we're going to move forward, let's go.
Right. So I touched on jobs earlier, but what can students expect from the job market after graduating the program?
Well, that's an interesting question, and the biggest thing is they have to figure out first and foremost what process they would want to do. Sometimes you'll find students that want to do everything, and it's kind of hard when you're looking for those jobs that you will find a facility that offers all of those. Sometimes facilities are very item specific on the processes.
Right.
So you kind of have to look around, but there are opportunities out there for MIG jobs, for TIG jobs, for stick welding jobs. It just depends on where you want to go. But in a 20-mile radius, I mean, there's employers that I get phone calls from almost weekly that say, we're looking for qualified, competent welders. Do you have anybody for this process, or do you have anybody for that process? So
Right.
we kind of have to take the information in from the employer and then dole it out to whatever class is happening that relates to that specific process. But the industry itself around here is growing, which is very exciting, not only just for us, but for all the trades.
That's what I was thinking. There's definitely a need for welders out there in the area, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what's exciting is we're in contact with the machine shop here on campus. We're in contact with automotive. We're in contact with HVAC. We're in contact with electrical. I mean, the PTI building where we're located has 4 of the really great trades that are sort of sat into that building, and we all kind of help each other. And it's really neat to see students from an automotive area coming in and learning a little bit about welding, and then our guys going over there and learning a little bit about automotive or HVAC or electrical. So it's cross-training definitely is a fundamental that we also stress to the students as well.
So are there any success stories, students, like standout students that you're proud of?
I'm proud of all of them that complete the program. Even the ones, I know Gaston College, it talks about success. Our version of success, and again, keep in mind, I've been in this industry for almost 20 years.
Right.
Actually over 20 years. I started in 2022. So our version of success is can we get a student in that we can train, that will retain the knowledge, not just the book work, not just the technique and the hands-on demonstration, the proficiencies, but can they retain the information, go out and get a job. We have a demographics from, I think our youngest student at the time was 16 or 17 years old, all the way up to last year, the beginning of last year, we had a gentleman that was 65.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's never too late to start.
It's never too late, and the greatest thing is those students, and he was only in the program for 4 months, and he ended up getting a job doing the actual MIG process.
That's awesome.
And he's like, I got to go. And that to us is success, but we find students that graduate, sometimes we don't hear from them for 2 years, and then they come back and they bring to us a paycheck and they're like, thank you.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Or hey, look out there, there's my new truck, and we're like, wow, that's
because of here.
Because of here. And I have to give credit not only just to the program itself, but to the instructors as well. We have 4 full-time instructors now. Our program has exploded since last year from 86 or 89 students to 151 students. We do have a waiting list for students to try and get into the program. Right now we're just kind of limited by space, but we are excitedly growing and trying to constantly add to that success rate. And again, it's we have people that come in that want to do this as an industry, and that's the rest of their life, and then we have people that come in that want to learn this as a hobby and do very creative things like this, and it's just very exciting. I haven't seen anybody that has left our program that just goes, not for me.
There's definitely a future for welding.
It's hard not to get immersed in this because I'm a nerd when it comes to this. I eat, sleep, and breathe all this stuff. So when I try and explain things, or when our other instructors explain things to the students, we're passionate about what we talk about. We're giving you life stories about. I remember on a job site this happened, and you're like, is that real? Did that guy really catch that on fire? It happened. This is true.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, wow, let's go get our hands in this. Let's go try it. So it's really a great thing to be a part of, and I'm very grateful and blessed to have the students that we have. And any of the students or any of the potential people that are out there that are watching this, this is something that if you're good with your hands, attention to detail, this would be something that you would really, really strive or be able to get into and do well. Maybe it's not for everybody. I'm biased. I think everybody should at least try it once. But It's one of those things where I think that if you have the drive to really learn how to create things with your hands, and you're very art knowledgeable, or you have these ideas. We've done tours for 8th graders, and they've come in, and we always ask them, what's your hobby? What do you like to do? I like to do gaming. Well, imagine if you could use one of these processes to design a new game chair that went 360 and turned you around, and now you're actually in the cockpit of a jet fighter. And they're just like, that's a great idea. And then their friends are like, can you build me one too? It's just like, yeah, go for it.
That's awesome. Well, looks like that's about all the time we have. Thank you for coming on the show, Mr. Price.
Yes, sir.
You can visit us on Instagram at Gaston Broadcast. And I am Ian Moore. Thank you for watching Gaston Spotlight.